Destroy the trespassers!
Marvel Ultimate Alliance is a new action RPG from Raven Software, and it's great. It builds on the good work that Raven did with the X-Men Legends games, and it blows it out to a much larger scale. There's now over 20 playable characters for you to choose from. The storyline is huge. It goes on for a good 15 or 20 hours, and it covers just a huge number of really famous Marvel locations and includes just a ton of great Marvel villains for you to combat. And it's a really good as an action RPG on its own. It refines a lot of the things from X-Men Legends and adds some new things as well. And overall, it's just a really compelling package. Now, the game starts off with Dr. Doom, one of the best Marvel villains of all, bringing together a bunch of other supervillains to create this supergroup called the Masters of Evil. And they have some sort of nefarious plot that the heroes don't really know the nature of. So you spend a lot of the game just as a group of these heroes chasing around Dr. Doom, fighting his henchmen, and trying to figure out what exactly is going on. The story itself, pretty good. It moves the game along at a really nice clip, but some of the dialogue feels a little bit corny, and a lot of the speeches are kind of long-winded and a little bit monotonous. Now, you start off the game controlling Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. But after a little bit, you're given the option to swap these characters out and create your own custom team. Now, you'll have about 18 heroes to choose from at the start of the game, but that number definitely balloons as you go along the game and meet other characters and unlock other ones as well. The selection of heroes that you have is a really good representation of a cross-section of very high-profile and popular and famous Marvel heroes, as well as some lesser ones that are really going to please a lot of fans. There are some interesting things to the way building your team works. For starters, when you first create your custom team, you can choose from an existing group if you like. You can choose from the Fantastic Four or the Avengers. If you choose them, then you get the appropriate heroes. You can also create your own team, just basically picking whoever you want. Now, when you create your team, there are bonuses that you can get as your team gains experience together that will apply to the entire group. On top of that, and separate from that, depending on which heroes you choose, you can get additional bonuses. Say, for example, if you were to choose Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and Black Panther, then you would get a Avengers bonus. If you were to pick Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, Thing, and the Human Torch, then you would get a Fantastic Four bonus. There's other ones, such as if you pick all female characters, you'll get a Femme Fatale bonus, and so on. And these are all just kind of hidden little things, and it makes the team building part of the game kind of interesting. The basic combat in Marvel Ultimate Alliance is pretty straightforward. You have a couple of basic attacks, as well as each hero having a very specific set of superpowers that they can tap into. Now, you can pull these up on screen using a context menu and then launch them from there, and you have only 3 slots in this context menu, but you have many more powers than that at your disposal. Save for Silver Surfer, who seems kind of stymied by the fact that this is a very localized kind of representation of Marvel superheroes. Everyone else looks really good and plays really well. They are representative of their ink and paper counterparts in a really authentic way. So as you walk through all of these crazy locations that Marvel Ultimate Alliance takes you in, you're going to beat up lots of various thugs, aliens, underwater monsters, robots, you name it. You'll get experience for this, and that experience turns into levels. Now, with each level, you'll gain points that you can use for the different heroes and their skills. Now, one of the interesting things about Marvel Ultimate Alliance is the way that it handles character advancement. You only have 4 characters at a time on screen, but you have this huge army, basically, that you can draw from and bring into battle. But it would seem like if you're only using 4, they would gain levels and everyone else would become useless pretty quickly. But the way Marvel Ultimate Alliance does it is that characters that aren't in use will basically keep up level-wise with the characters that you're using, except they'll be about a level behind. So it's not totally damaging for you to swap out characters, but there is some incentive for you to keep going with the ones that you've already selected. The basic gameplay in Marvel Ultimate Alliance is pretty satisfying. Just hitting dudes is fun. You can put together some basic combos. You can do some other stuff like disarm enemies, pick up stuff, throw it at them. But part of what keeps Marvel Ultimate Alliance interesting throughout is the way that it mixes up the gameplay. There is a ton of boss fights. You will fight so many recognizable Marvel villains over the course of this game, and that's really one of the best parts of the experience. Fights like your encounter with Galactus are just really memorable moments. And the game makes good use of interactive cutscenes like you might remember from Resident Evil 4 to really great effect. Another nice touch is the inclusion of co-op play. Obviously, when you're playing by yourself, the other three heroes are controlled by AI, and you can switch between them on the fly as you please. If you'd rather play with other people, you can go ahead and have them hop in, and it's pretty seamless. You can have them play locally, or even better, the game has online support so that you can take your single-player game and play with people over the internet. One of the problems with Raven's past action RPG efforts, specifically X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2, was that the level designs weren't always terribly inspired. You got a lot of just, gray corridors and swamps and caves and, it's kind of dark, dank, dungeon-y environments. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is the exact opposite of that. The places that you go to are bright and colorful and bizarre and incredibly varied. You'll visit Mephisto's realm, you'll visit Mandarin's palace, you'll eventually find your way to Dr. Doom's big, crazy castle in Latveria. Where you go and the journey you take in Marvel Ultimate Alliance is really one of the better parts of the experience. Now, all four versions, the Xbox 360, Xbox, PlayStation 2, and PC versions of Marvel Ultimate Alliance are pretty much comparable. You're going to have the same adventure regardless of which platform you go with, though the Xbox 360 is easily the best looking version, hands down. The game has really great lighting effects, there's good bump mapping on everything, although the heroes are perhaps a little bit over bump mapped, they end up kind of looking like action figures, but otherwise the Xbox 360 version looks really great. The other versions look pretty much the same, just without all of that lighting and all that bump mapping. Textures are a little bit inconsistent at times, but there's just a great amount of detail in the environments to make up for it. Now, the PC version obviously benefits from having higher resolution support, so it looks a little bit cleaner, though it also defaults to mouse and keyboard support, which is a little bit awkward, though thankfully it also includes gamepad support, as well as specific support for the Xbox 360 wired controller, which is really nice. The Xbox version looks a little bit lower in quality than the PC version. The PS2 version is the one that seems to have really suffered in the course of development. The game just doesn't move as nicely, the frame rate is much less consistent, and it's not as high just to begin with. Character animations look a little bit choppy, and oddly, there's something very muffled about the sound in the PS2 version, a problem that isn't present in the other versions. Otherwise, though, all the versions are basically the same. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is just an excellent piece of Marvel fan fiction. There's just a great cast in this game. They're generally really well used, and it's a good-sized adventure for you to sink your teeth into. It'll take you a good 15 or 20 hours to get through the first time. There's all sorts of side missions for you to do, as well as a harder difficulty that you'll unlock at the end of the game. With all this stuff, with the co-op play, it's a very good action RPG experience that's very hard to miss.